Coming right onto the second pitch, and this really is the most difficult move of the entire climb. I spoke to Dave earlier this morning and asked him, knowing that the most difficult move was on the second pitch, he still had a lot of climbing beyond. What's it like climbing the rest of the route, knowing he's got over the hardest?
Just a couple of minutes.
And he assured me that it was still very, very hard. But you can see Tim Emmett here. He's in what we call a hanging belay. He's actually, hanging off some protection in the rock. He's just giving Dave a bit of space now as Dave prepares for this hardest move. And although Dave has spent a lot of time on this crag in the past few weeks, he's practiced and practiced. He's never actually linked together all the moves of the second pitch successfully. But he has remembered all the moves. He's replicated all of those moves on a climbing wall in his home and practiced. So fingers crossed that he can actually link it all together this afternoon.
I think one of the extraordinary features of this particular pitch is the angle. And we saw earlier on a camera shot showing one of the rigging ropes heading out on an overhang that must be 50 degrees overhanging. And the grade of this pitch is potentially E8 or E9 to a technical grade of 7A. And if you had to have a 1 to 50 numerical, 1 to 30 numerical scale of difficulty, this is coming in, in the 28, 29. So it is an extremely, extremely hard move. And one of the really important things on this is that the hold he is going to have to use is about the size of an edge of a USB memory stick on its side. It is really, really, really small. And he has to apply full power to that, control his body as it swings out into space, and then dynamically, almost like a little jump, grab a hold at the end of this huge overhang. I'm looking forward to seeing this. I'm sure Dave is looking forward to getting through it as cleanly as possible, but there's every chance he could fall off this. He's never completed the sequence of moves in one complete go. Very, very unusually also. Something like this normally would be done and practiced over a period of days. It's such a difficult thing. So this is his second day trying this, and he has not had a complete clean ascent of that particular sequence.
Dave's there. Have a very good look at it. He knows what's coming.
Take your time, man. I need the time, to be honest.
Alright, sure.
So Cameron, one of the other things here is that Dave he's just finished seconding the first pitch, so he'll be a little bit tired. He needs to just wait for absolutely the optimum time to get everything right. He's calming himself, get the psychology right. He really has to leave this very awkward stance with full power. He has to go straight into this with a great deal of aggression and control.
So it's foot there.
Those are
Right then, you're in.
Right, cool. Sort myself out so I'm ready to go.
those of you who are watching climbing maybe for the first time and just querying some of the equipment that the guys have, you'll notice a little yellow bag at the base of Dave's back. Well, that's a chalk bag, and the climbers quite frequently you'll see them put their hands into that bag, just dust their fingers with
weird I'm
this magnesium carbonate,
totally
and that just gives them a little bit more friction
like less than a metre further up.
on the holds.
It's totally strange.
Yeah, you might know.
That's Dave getting some chalk on his
that's
fingers
what I'm
now.
aiming for, yeah. Hopefully first
I
go.
found it alright, getting up to the crimp and into the undercut.
Yeah. It's just coming through, isn't it? Still just got a bit of a warm-up pump on.
Yeah, sure. Where do you put your left foot, Dave? Is it up on that chalk mark over there? Yeah.
Smear over there, so
Yeah,
it's like
cool.
right foot on there,
Oh yeah.
left foot,
And get the
then
Egyptian
right foot
on
in
that.
there.
Oh really?
Mm.
I put my right foot way further out on that
Yeah.
ledge.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that helps to keep you in a bit.
But then, I mean, I was watching you in the first pitch. You do a lot of moves differently from me.
Yeah.
You're quite
So the two climbers are discussing the various sequences of this particular crux section. But Dave is just now trying to calm himself down,
So
focus on the movement, visualize a complete ascent
over.
of this sequence. He'll
Take
be
the swing.
imagining himself, and will have done for many,
Right
many
foot.
days, lying in his
Coasting.
bed, going through each move complete. Really a technique used often in athletics, sprinting and so on, but when you're facing the possibility of falling off, it really has to count.
Just give it your best shot, mate.
I think it's important for viewers to realise that Dave has been eating, sleeping, dreaming these particular moves over the past number of weeks. In fact, I'd say the past number of months. He's spent a lot of time on this crag, I think something like 20 days, in all kinds of conditions. First of all, finding a route on this huge overhanging massive rock, and that's no easy task in itself. And then, working out the line, and then practicing some of these moves. And there's a lot of days he came up here and onto Sron Uladail on his own, sort of rappelled down a rope from the top and spent the whole day here and go home at night time absolutely exhausted. So this really is the outcome of all that practice. And you can see our guys literally dangling from a string on the left of your screen there, getting the pictures that we're watching. So it's this whole objective is not really just about the climbers, but these climbing cameramen are doing a fantastic job out there in the rain. They're not getting the shelter of the overhang as the climbers are. They're probably pretty soaked by this time, but most of them are climbers themselves, and very good climbers. They understand exactly what Dave and Tim need.
Hey, we're ready.
So the call is going out to the team that Dave's going to attempt this very difficult sequence.
Go for it, Dave. Good luck, mate.
Okay, this is it. A little rock up there, get his left hand up onto the layaway.
Go on, Dave.
Now he has to control it.
Go on.
That's it.
Come on.
That's the first hard
Dave.
move.
Go on, mate. Go on.
He's running out a long way out from the Bailey. A fall from here will take him a long way.
Brilliant.
This is incredible climbing.
Go on, man.
Look at that.
Wow.
Got to hold it now. So 6 meters out from the Bailey, getting the first piece of protection in.
Try and get it in from the side. Nice.
Yeah, Dave's got his runner in the crank now. He puts the rope through the carabiner, and he'll breathe a sigh of relief now that he's got some protection in there.
Brilliant, man.
That was
some chalk in his fingers.
Extremely impressive, Cameron.
It's so impressive. I mean, these really are world-class athletes, and it's a privilege to watch them. It really is.
Good, that was awesome. Go on, Dave.
Climbing.
Go on, I'm watching you. Go on.
So, good hold. Another very big hold, but the ground is incredibly steep here.
Go on, Dave.
Now, we were talking about that being a good secure hold, but how many of us can hang on like that for 30 seconds, 40 seconds? Very few of us, I would guess.
You can see there's a bit of wind coming into the crag, just as Dave's trying to fiddle in another cam. You can just hear a little bit of tension in his breath. I'm not surprised. And he's extending that runner on a long sling so that higher up on the pitch it doesn't produce too much drag and make it much more difficult to make upward progress as the rope runs through all the gear and around this huge overhang.
Hey, good effort, man.
Yeah, if you look at that Bailey that Tim Emmett is hanging from, it really is so impressive. Now Dave is going to move now.
Go on, Dave.
Do a crossover.
Go on.
And a bit of a hang.
Go on. Go on, Dave.
Yes.
So all the time you have to think about the moves and then how to protect yourself as you inch your way up the cliff. And that looks like a pretty good runner. So the first runner he got after the run out from the crux was not great, and then these two are really pretty stonking.
I don't know, you dunk of it, I'm shaking.
Go on, Dave.
So there's a difficult little sequence, another crossover.
Go on.
Yeah.
I'm pumped, man.
I know you. Go on, mate. Go on. You'll be all right. It gets easier. Hang in there.
It's good holds, but just
Yeah, it's steep.
steep as anything, eh?
I know.
So when Dave said he's pumped, basically the blood is blocking his fingers from working, and he's
couple of moves and it eases off, Dave.
Relax a wee bit here.
yeah, just shake your arms, get the blood back into his hands.
Good effort,
Come
man.
on, come on.
Come on, Dave.
Couple of moves.
So great that Tim is able to encourage him in such a way, and Tim is such an encouraging guy. Shake the fingers.
It's going to take a couple more seconds and
Yeah,
then go.
as long as you want. Try and get your breathing under control. Come on, Dave.
You can hear his breathing just quite shallow to start with, and trying to get it deeper and deeper and deeper. Just trying to relax.
Okay, I'm not getting
himself.
anything more, so I'm just going to go.
All right.
So that's the end of the rest. He's not getting any more power back into his fingers, so he has to go with what he's got
Go
left and reserved in the tank.
Go on, Dave. Go on.
This is audacious climbing.
So you can see the hold he's going for, just above the roof.
Yellow.
Okay. You get a good rest in a minute on that ledge.
Yeah, he's going for it now. Bit of chalk in the fingers.
My right arm's really pumped.
Go on,
Shake
Dave.
it out, Dave. Shake it out.
This is where the hours of the fingerboard and the training
The holes
will
get
hopefully
better.
pay off. It's not in the bag yet.
Go on, Dave.
Remember, this is the crux of the whole climb. This is the most difficult part of the whole climb.
Go on.
And he's climbing beautifully.
It's a smallish hold though. Needs to reach round into the big jug. Yeah, big
Go
throw
on,
for that.
Dave.
I'm really pumped, man.
Go on, man. Keep going.
Woo! I got good holds.
All right. Are you near the ledge?
I'm just at a big hold. Just below that block. There's a big
Okay.
block above me. I've got to stop here for a sec.
Hey, good effort, man. That was awesome.
Woo!
A fantastic effort. Dave stopped just for a moment, just using every opportunity to rest his arms, rest his fingers, shake out the lactic acid. Just compose himself for the next very,
It's a
very
little bit
difficult move.
exposed up here, man.
That's the understatement of the year.
So just in that short section of that pitch, it's already overhanging at least 40 feet. But Dave is probably fairly confident this pitch is in at least the crux section is complete now. He just has to hang there, try and get some power back into his arms.
There's like a crack off to my left that looks good, but I think I might be too tired to get to it and then come back.
So what he meant there is there's a decision.
How far are you from the ledge?
I'm about 8 foot below it.
You
Okay.
can see the rain just streaming past there. And
I
these,
think
it's
the
so
holes
great
are
that this is
good
such an
going up
overhang.
to
The
it on the
guys are
right.
keeping dry, and more importantly, the rock is dry.
Smooth it up, mate.
There he goes. That's a good hold.
Some of
Good
the,
foothold, yeah.
although the holds are good here, some of the rock here is a little
In a
bit
better position
suspect.
now.
It doesn't get any weathering at all, really, and there's lots of little crystals lying on the surface of the rock which could be friable, break off at any time.
Hey, let me know when you're at the ledge, Dave.
Yeah. I'm not far below it now.
Just getting a bit of gear in there.
Oh, I'm so pumped. I'm just so tired.
So one of the skills here to try and reduce the amount of effort is to be able to select your equipment very, very quickly. And on the hardest routes, the climber will often rack the gear in the order on his harness that he would want to take that off on. But these guys have had so little time to inspect the climb. Often they're having to select from a kind of random bunch of gear. But he's got something in that should make him a little bit happier.
This is a good position to be in here. He can actually rest quite well here. He's certainly got his feet on very, very stable bit of rock there, and he can use this opportunity just to gather himself, just to let the arms relax just a bit, and then go for it again. And then, you know, once he's done this pitch, he's still got a lot of climbing ahead of him.
So that cam is not quite nestled very well. He's just rearranging it so it lies in the optimum position.
All the other ropes, of course, that you see dangling down here are the ropes used by our cameraman, just in case there's anybody thinking that it's some sort of escape route that the guys have. They don't. And yeah, you can see it there. Yeah, you can see these ropes hanging down, connecting our cameraman.
And earlier on the week, when they were cleaning the route, just inspecting it, Dave was up on a big ledge that you can see the climbing cameraman standing in the red on, abseiled down, and the rope got caught behind a flake. And as he weighted that rope, the flake came off the rock. It was about the size of an A4 notebook and as sharp as a razor, and it fell past him and clipped him on his ankle, and it completely opened up his ankle. So Dave is climbing here with 5 stitches in his foot, and he was hobbling into the crag this morning, and it's all strapped. He was very, very worried that on some of these moves just the sheer pressure would rip open the stitches, but he's managed to ignore that quite impressively, Cameron.
It's quite impressive. Yeah, here we go. He's just about to set off here. Getting moving out of this sort of comfort zone, back out onto the face on this audacious overhang. Yeah, just getting a small nut in there.
Well, unlike a lot of climbing in Europe on limestone crags, where they tend to be quite uniform, or at least the features are uniform, the architecture on the Sron is very, very, very complicated. So it's not a straight up and down line. So finding the correct holds and a series of holds that link together in a usable sequence has been a really extraordinary piece of investigation, and Dave did a great job doing this. Tim flew over a little bit earlier from Canada straight into the limelight, but Dave spent a long time thinking about this.
Duncan, some of our viewers might be querying why Dave is using 2 separate ropes. Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, you can see that on a complex piece of wall like this, there's a multitude of cracks. They don't lie in a straight line. If you were to place a runner on the left and a runner right, and they might be 3 or 4 meters apart, the rope would have to zigzag. A single rope would have to zigzag through all of those. And at the top of a long pitch, sometimes you simply cannot pull the rope through all your equipment. So you use 2 ropes, running one up the left, one up the right, often placing and missing gear out. And that's really to stop rope drag. It allows the progress of the ropes to run a little bit more freely.
Yeah, this is tricky.
Go on, Dave.
Oh, my foot.
That's complaining about his sore foot.
Oh, man.
Oh, I think he hurt himself there.
I'm on the ledge, man!
Nice!
Woo!
Good effort! That was awesome!
Thank God for that.
Oh, I bet you jumped. I'm
going to stand here for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Do it,
I need a
mate.
proper
Have
rest.
as long as you want. That was amazing.
Well, you just heard it from Dave that he's going to take a bit of a rest for 5 minutes or so, and I have to say, a very well-deserved rest too. He's about halfway up the pitch at the stage, so he's just getting himself under control again, getting as much rest as possible, and again mentally preparing himself for the difficulties that lie ahead.
Duncan and Cameron, just to let you know, I've got
And you
an
can see again
earpiece
just the vast
in, so I
scale
can
of
hear
this
what
rock.
you're saying, if you want to have a chat.
Oh wow. Good position.
I can see the rain horizontally going across.
So Cameron, I've just been told by Garth, who's been on this pitch, that after this big block, you have to traverse across that fairly steep slab to where Mark Diggins is standing, who's one of the mountain guides on the cliff, and there is no protection on it at all.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
very, very, very bold. So a good long rest, so he can recover enough to do this traverse, is very, very important.
Dave's had a bit of a rest now, and he'll be continuing on the second half of this pitch 2. He's halfway through it. He's been climbing incredibly well, and our fingers and our toes and everything else across, he'll continue in that vein for the rest of this pitch, which is of course the crux pitch of the route.
On to me again. Once is enough.
So it's always a difficult time when you're in a rest to...
Another 3 or 4 minutes, I think.
Exactly. It's a great mixture of partly a little bit of fear, because you don't want to set out and run out of the strength, but also the longer you stay in the rest, the more difficult it is to leave. So I know that in a situation when I was on rest and hard routes, if I stayed there too long, I didn't end up moving and didn't end up succeeding on the climb. It's a very, very fine balance.
Yes, this is a replay of one of the crux moves of the pitch, and you can just see the beautiful flowing movements of Dave MacLeod here. Very, very overhanging rock, and look at this. Look, just watch him in a moment, hanging from one arm.
So you saw there his foot swinging out. That's called a barn door, as your weight comes out onto the hold, and really very, very small holds here. And the next move, just the next one, heralds the end of that sequence.
Sense of time. I don't know if I've been standing here for 2 minutes or 15 minutes or what.
Phenomenal climbing. It really is so acrobatic and gymnastic. It's almost beyond words. But Dave is still shaking out. You can see that he's really pumped his arms so hard in the first half of this pitch. He's just preparing himself. And you know, Duncan, on a normal climb, the guys would take all the time in the world really to get themselves composed. But these guys know that the cameras are on them. They don't really have all the time in the world. Does that give a lot more pressure? Does that put a lot more pressure on them?
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure if it does, because one of the nice things about the team that we've got on the crag today is that everybody knows everybody else. They've been on the crag together for pretty much the week, rigging the ropes and inspecting the route. And for me, if I was in that position, and it's very unlikely it ever would be, I would feel comforted by the fact that I've got my mates hanging around looking after me on the crag. So, you know, there's a good, despite the fact it's an outrageous cliff, it's quite a good team, and everybody knows that they're all pulling for Dave to get through this. Now it's really up to Dave to refocus himself. He's standing on a ledge, completely on his feet, and he has to go on this really quite bold little traverse into the Beeley on the left. But there'll be people standing on that ledge,
3 minutes,
willing
Tim, and then I'll head off.
absolutely willing
Okay.
him onto the next Beeley at the end of the second pitch.
So here's Dave looking back again at some of the moves on the bottom half of this picture. Look at that, hanging on with one arm.
Go
Get
on.
the other hand in, get some chalk, and then
on,
go.
Dave.
This is incredible climbing.
So despite the fact, Cameron, that looks as though that's totally horrendous, there's a lot of climbs where you'd hang free. The moves before that on the smallest holds, controlling the balance, engaging your stomach muscles, and the core strength in these guys, they're really well balanced athletes. So you see, Tim has been there for quite some time now, and the problem with a hanging belay is that it's cutting the blood off from his feet, and well, it's just typical Tim, isn't it?
I think Tim knows we're talking about him.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Are your feet sore?
Yeah. No, I've not got a lot of blood in my legs. You know,
Just
so I'm
hang
trying to-
upside down, it'll go to your head, and then it back down to your toes again.
No, don't do that. The brain's pickled enough as it is, my goodness. No, well done, Tim. Well done.
Oh man, that was so impressive. Like, I can't overemphasize how hard those moves are that he's just done. That hold that he had with his left hand is tiny. It's about, I don't know, it's about the width of 2 matchsticks. It's really, really small. I mean, you never get holds that size on routes like this ever. People just don't do that sort of thing. You know, you might do that on a sport climb, but not when you've got all your rack hanging off you, and yeah, it's pretty full on.
So you're worried about making the move?
It's gonna be an interesting one for sure. We'll see. There might be a bit of swinging around in space.
Do you expect Dave to have a good laugh at you if you fall off the move?
I've tried it once and I couldn't do it, so second time lucky.
Oh well, good luck.
Thanks.
Yeah, we're all rooting for you, Tim.
Oh, it's such a relief to get to the belay actually, because the main thing that I was concerned about is that if I fell off near the end, then I've got to lower down and do the pitch again, and that takes up a lot of time and also a lot of energy. And to get to the top of these 5 pitches, you really need to conserve as much energy as you can. So falling off's not a good idea really. So yeah, I'm really psyched that we've got to where we have. That's brilliant. It's a great start.
Do you think there's much? Is the rain, and is there blowing in a little bit of humidity onto the rock? Is it making much difference?
No, not here. I don't even know that it's raining. I can see it. About, I don't know, 100 feet over there, going down sideways. But yeah, I'm totally dry here, and the rock's really dry. So it's just the last pitch really. If it doesn't stop raining, the last pitch is going to be epic. It's going to be really, really slimy. There's a lot of, because it's wet a lot, there's a lot of algae, or there's just a lot of really slimy stuff on the rock, and it's going to make it into a much harder pitch, and the gear's not very good. So if
Okay, Tim, I'm going to get going, alright?
Alright, Dave.
So the next bit looks kind of loose.
Yeah. Steady away, old chap.
You'll soon know about it if I come off, because I'll go flying past you.
You're not wrong. You better not.
So Tim's just getting ready to move off now.
Okay, Cameron. Now I feel nervous.
Yeah.
Wasn't nervous with the hard moves, but the prospect of this very bold traverse, it's extremely. It's just a measure of all the skills that you need to have as a top level trad climber on these sorts of routes. And we were discussing how this fitted into
Go on, Dave.
the grand history of rock climbing, and we reckoned it's probably in the top 10 or 20 routes in the world of its style, and we're having the great privilege of watching it happen in front of our eyes.
Good holds, but
Indeed.
Go on, Dave.
feels loose. I don't know what to pull on.
It seems that a lot of the rock on this section of the crag is actually quite friable and potentially loose. So the guys just have to be very, very careful to test each hold before they haul up on it, just to give it a bang. And they can tell by the sound of the rock whether it's going to be loose or firm. It has that sort of hollow sound, this sort of dangerous sound. So they've got to keep checking that as well. And that's just something else they have to think about.
I think also it's not just the big blocks, like the one he's standing on does not look very healthy, but it's the little edges and the little crystals that roll around under your fingers.
And look at that perspective now. It's just so difficult. That huge big roof above him.
He just needs to flick his rope around that block. It doesn't. There
He'll
you
do
go.
Oh man, it's a long way above the gear.
Don't worry about it, Dave. You'll be fine.
I hear a bit of a smile in Tim's voice there, encouraging Dave to launch himself out over this little section.
If he falls off here.
But he said it
he's gonna go
himself
about
there. He just
7
whispered
foot.
it's a long way without any gear, and he's absolutely right. It's a long way without that, the benefit of that protection, knowing that if you fall, you'll immediately be held. And of course, the problem with a fall on a long traverse like this is the big sort of pendulum effect that you would have. You wouldn't just fall directly down; you'd fall in a great big swing, and the danger is he could bang his ankle in the stitches.
I'm not sure if there's a danger of him hitting the rock. I think the danger is
watching you.
You're going to end up hanging in space
Dave.
and getting back into the belay. That's the tricky one. So let's just watch him do this sequence.
Go on. Go on. Go on, Dave. Go on, Dave. Go on. Go on. Go on, Dave!
You see how small the footholds are.
Rubbish.
Very delicate.
I think that's it done now. He's got his hands behind a big flake. Well, I'm glad that's over.
Brilliant.
I'm sure he's really glad it's over.
Oh,
God, there's a sort of a corporate sigh of relief down here in the commentary tent. I'll tell you, wow, fantastic.
good effort!
Well done, Dave.
Brilliant.
Well done, Dave. You know, he made that look so simple.
Right, there you sigh.
Oh, it's so good to be stood on our legs.
Okay, he's now safe on the belay, clove-hitched into the carabiner there.
Oh, yes.
And now Tim will be wondering, how am I going to be able to do that? How am I going to be able to do that pitch?
Yeah, this will be going through Tim's mind now. He knows he has to follow. And even seconding a pitch like this is, beyond the vast majority of climbers. But Tim's the man. He'll do it.
You reckon?
Get down, Dave!
Yeah, Dave is on the
Are you
only
safe?
Yeah,
good,
Dave!
safe
Brilliant!
ledge on the whole
Nice,
climb. And
well done, mate!
he looks to be making himself quite
Awesome.
comfortable there and have a well-deserved rest.
No. I'll just be a couple of minutes.
Yeah, no problem, you're off, belay!
So you can see on the ledge that Dave's sitting on there's some old bolts drilled into the rock, and those are remnants of the early aid ascent that Doug Scott did back in 1968-69. They're old caving and coach bolts.
So in those days, Duncan, the guys went up there and what, did they hammer in bolts into cracks, or did they use a compressor drill, or how did they actually achieve that?
No, they're all hand drilled. It's basically it would be an adapted masonry drill, and you tap in the drill, turn it, tap it in, turn it, and they take about 10 to 15 minutes per bolt to drill. And some of the longer aid climbs, especially on a cliff like this, would have taken days and days and days. And I think the first ascent of the cliff, the steepest part of the cliff in 1968-69, took 6 days. 6 days of hammering. It's much more like an engineering piece of work than a climb.
I think we're going to take the opportunity here to actually go on to the rock face and have a word with Ian Peter, one of our safety officers who's up there. Ian, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you, Cameron.
Yeah, what's it like up there?
Well, it's really windy, Cameron, and it's raining pretty heavily, but it seems to be blowing past the crags, so the guys are lucky at the minute.
And are you guys all soaking, or are you pretty dry too?
Oh no, you mustn't underestimate how steep this crag is. The guys hanging in space have still got maybe a 30-metre overhang above them. I mean, that's how steep it is, so they're dry as well.
And Ian, did you see much of Dave's lead on that pitch?
Yeah, I did. I mean, the thing that really impresses me there, Cameron, is that Dave has been working at that series of moves for the last few weeks, and I've seen him do the moves individually but never string them together like that, and to have the control and the power to manage that sequence is just, I mean, it's a fantastic piece of climbing.
Out of a scale of 10, how would you rate that?
12. Oh no,
well done, Ian.
I mean, it's just amazing.
That was the voice of Ian Peter there, one of our safety officers high up on the crag. And Ian is no mean climber himself, and he'll well understand just what's going through Dave's mind at this particular moment.
So now Dave just has to bring in all the spare rope. The climbing ropes they're using are 60 metres long. That was about a 40 metre pitch. So he has to bring up all the slack, stack it on the ledge so it doesn't blow around in space and get tangled up. Really now preparing for the third pitch. However, he has to get his second there, and Tim's just making sure that the ropes are fed through all the gear up onto the big ledge, making sure that they're prepared and not too tangled. But the thin ropes, especially these modern twin and double ropes, they can get tangled really easily. So rope management is another skill you have to bring to the climbing experience.
Cheers.
So I'm being joined by Stephen. What did you think of that, Stephen?
Well, I'm just sitting here at the bottom of the cliff and my heart was in my mouth. My heart was racing. It was one of the most terrifying things I've watched, but to see that mental control was just fantastic. And the fact that he had not prepared those moves in advance and he'd never linked them together, brilliant to watch.
It is really, really impressive. I mean, as we were discussing earlier on, that normally on a climb like this, if you fell on it, you could lower back down to the belay and have another go and another go and another go. And of that, a move of that standard may take 2 or 3 or 4 attempts over a period of days to really get it right. So to pull that out of the bag under the pressure of the cameras, with the nation watching, it's really it's quite extraordinary. It really is extraordinary. It just shows the depth and skill of this. So I've been joined by Stephen. Welcome.
Hello, Duncan. Last week I was talking to Doug Scott, a famous Himalayan climber, but he was one of the first to climb on this immense wall, one of the first routes, and he did say how extraordinary it was amidst this sort of ocean of overhangs to find these islands of actual flat ledges. And it does seem extraordinary that they've at last arrived at this haven of this completely flat ledge after that immense overhang of the previous pitch.
Just so I can
It must be an
make
enormous
sure that
relief as well, because to have a series of hanging belays or very small perches, it really does sap your strength. So it's a good place for them to stop in a little while and have some drink and some food, prepare themselves for the... Remember, there's another 3 pitches above this, and they are really not very easy.
And Tim here has been over an hour now. Must have been cutting off the set. You can see that harness digging into his thighs.
What did he say? Oh, cool. Thanks.
So even the best climbers use the basic communication techniques on belay. It means that he's tied off, safe to go, the rope's running through the belay device, and Dave will...
Dave!
Yeah!
The gear is on the green rope!
Okay. Okay!
So you can see Dave's just locking off that rope, putting a little overhand knot in it. Tim doesn't particularly want, I think, to carry the weight of all the equipment up the climb.
So his weight's going to be taken on the yellow rope, and then he's going to clip the gear onto the green. And although he's seconding, if at any point he comes off, it's still a potential big swing out into space, really intimidating. And you can see there that tenuous line of tiny little edges that he's got to follow, leading out the underside of this enormous great roof. I love these shots of the cameramen. It gives you a true idea of the incredible angle of this huge overhang. Biggest overhang in Britain.
Well, I have climbed on some steep rock in my time, but nothing like this. I mean, 150 feet of overhanging rock above your head, and you do feel the pressure of that. It's sitting above you like this massive domed cathedral, and the physical skill and the ability to be comfortable in that environment is really, really exceptional. I mean, I think every time as a climber, you know yourself, if you walk from the horizontal and the vertical, you take a little intake of breath and you adjust to a steep environment. But to be comfortable here and then to shut all of that out and concentrate on moving one hand above the next and one foot above the next, it really is extraordinary stuff.
That's the lovely thing about it, these extraordinary mind games, that mental control, and that ability to feel comfortable in these outrageously scary places.
And for Tim, I mean, it's just about to set off. He's been sitting
I'm okay just now.
locked into the rock,
I'll wait
and then he moves from that position of
just wait till Tim comes up.
the good safety and the secureness of sitting in your harness, and then immediately straight into some of the hardest moves on British rock. Standard of 7A, a 7A technical move is really almost at the absolute limit.
And the wonderful thing about this climb is the way that it's been protected entirely with natural protection. I mean, normally a climb of this complexity and difficulty, in fact Tim was saying only 2 days ago, normally
Dave!
it would be protected
Climbing!
by drilled bolts.
I'll put it up here. Okay, Tim!
And you can see the wind blowing those ropes and rain still
Is that
scudding across.
Okay,
And
so
yet, thank goodness, under this immense overhang, the rock is still dry. Because these moves would be completely impossible if the rock was even
Wash my
slightly
fingers
moist.
on this edge.
okay, so Sim's just unclipping himself from the belay,
Go on, Tim!
straight on his arms now and setting off up the pitch. He just did a quick breath, center himself, and we should let Tim do this as fast as he possibly can.
Come on, fingers. That's a good hold.
And he's off.
Yeah.
So Tim just hanging on his hands a little bit, get himself used to the climbing experience again. So
Tim's never done this move, and he's looked at it and not managed to do it, and this is his first chance to link this extraordinary sequence of moves on these minuscule finger holds.
I must have got the move.
Yeah!
Alright.
whoops, right out into space.
Right out.
So he now needs to
Got
grab
you, mate!
a
Now
rope.
he's got to get back in again.
Yeah, mate, tie off green and I'll jog up there.
Okay!
Okay, so there's now no chance of Tim getting back into the rock. So to jug means basically he's going to fit a clamp or a prusik knot, a special knot onto the green rope, and he will climb the rope until he makes contact with the rock again. So that's a great shame
you're
for
good to
Tim.
go on, green!
Didn't
Cheers,
make the
mate.
move, but
Nice one! Good swing.
Good swing. Wonderful the way he could enjoy himself in this situation.
Yeah, fingers are a bit chilly.
Yeah, I bet, man, I bet.
so as
Hey,
all
good
climbers,
effort,
Tim has a multitude of
Thanks.
excuses for failure. Chilly fingers, my shoes weren't done up, I need to go to the toilet. But it is really extremely hard. Oops, don't drop that. So Dave's locked off the climbing rope now, and Tim will, with the aid of a little clamp, climb the fixed rope until he makes contact with the next piece of gear above him, and hopefully we'll continue. So you could just see with his right hand he had to turn it into a tiny little undercut, which is basically a hold that you get facing with your palm facing up. He didn't quite catch that. It's a big
And
ask.
again-
Big ask of a belay to do a move that hard.
And to do it after hanging at that belay for over an hour, giving all that wonderful support to Dave, who was leading it. Now he's getting ready to Jumar up the rope. He's got his foot in a sling and a camming device on the rope, which he'll slide up the rope. Another one attached to his waist. And he's effectively now going to have to climb up the rope. It's the only way of getting out of this position.
This is exactly the same technique that you would use if you'd fallen into a crevasse or a hole in a glacier. So, good thing to learn. And these are tiny, tiny little Jumars. They're not really a Jumar clamp at all. It's basically it's a folded piece of metal with teeth which make contact with the rock, and you use a conventional climbing carabiner to lock it onto the rope as you pull. But you know, most climbers and alpinists know how to do this.
Man.
It's not that unusual, except the fact that you are hanging a very, very, very long way out into space.
Wow, those holes are so small.
No, you mentioned...
See the skin on my finger? It's like a third of the...
You mentioned crevasses,
end
and
joint of
in
the
the mountains, travelling on glasses,
not
you always
even
carry
half.
these devices so you can get yourself out of a crevasse if you fall in. An incredibly strenuous work, and at some stage he's got to make contact with the rock again and then continue with more hard moves above.
He's just trying to work out now how to get past the gear, because passing a piece of gear like that when it's heavily weighted is not a simple task. So the crucial thing here is him missing that hold. Whoops. And immediately he's laughing. I'm sure I wouldn't be laughing in that situation at all. The first thing I'd be thinking was, oh, is the rope going to work?
Right.
But in the greater scheme of things, this means that for Tim, this is not a failure, and for the complete ascent of the climb, this doesn't affect the outcome at all.
No, I mean, Dave's led this pitch. It was a triumph. And the third pitch that comes after this is no pushover. And Tim's still got that ahead of him.
For a second. How you getting on there? You alright? Not really. Good for the old back.
So Tim's just trying to work out how to get past this piece of gear.
Yeah.
He's clipped himself directly from his harness into one of the protection pieces. He'll then have to take off the little rope ascension device. I think it's called I can't remember what they're called, but they're a nice little French crevasse rescue device.
Yes, they're really neat little things, and there's a carabiner that clips through it, and that just squeezes it onto the rope to hold your weight.
So it's going to take that out, swing a little bit into space,
swing
a bit
into
more.
space.
So if anyone wants to know what aid climbing is, this is aid climbing. What Dave did is free climbing. And aid climbing is how people used to go up here back in the 30s. It's pretty wild. Imagine that.
So just to recap, Dave MacLeod successfully led the second pitch, which we think is the crux pitch of the route. Certainly the pitch with the hardest move, single moves. But Tim, leaving the hanging belay, fell off it, and he's now hanging in space, trying to get back on the rock to complete the pitch to get up to the big ledge that marks the start of the third pitch. So Stephen, did you do much aid climbing in your youth?
I've never done any aid climbing. It looks far too technical and complicated. But of course that's how this cliff was first climbed. Hammering in tiny little pegs, looping tapes over flakes of rock, and engineering your way up the cliff. And 30 years ago the idea of climbing this completely free, i.e. just using your hands and feet on the rock, would have seemed completely unimaginable. And Tim's now climbing again. He's actually climbing now. He's made contact with the rock again, and this pitch is by no means over. But there is, at least in the context of this climb, a reasonable handhold. He's got both hands with fingers actually curled over that hold, and moving for a much smaller hold there. What's wonderful is the way he's getting the weight on his feet, getting some of that weight off his fingers. Beautiful moving, foot right up onto that minuscule hold. It's just wonderful to watch. I always think good rock climbing, it's like a kind of dance with this incredible sequence of moves, and you've got to be so precise, particularly with that footwork. It's not just brute strength, although it does obviously require enormous strength in the fingers.
And there's a real difference in the climbing styles between Tim and Dave for sure. Tim is very open, like his character, very open, very free, quite fluid in his climbing, and will make adjustments to each individual move as he sees fit. Dave is a much more planned character. Everything's broken down and scientifically analysed, and it's a really interesting pairing. You've got the strong Scottish introvert and the slightly mad Englishman. There's no son, but it's a great combination. It's a really fascinating pairing.
And it's something that runs through the history of mountaineering. So often you get these partnerships, and opposites attract opposites are stronger than two clones, and they complement each other beautifully. And what was great was the way Tim was giving Dave all that support, all that encouragement while Dave was leading this pitch. And now his turn has come.
I mean, sometimes I've climbed with quite a lot of people who absolutely hate you shouting up encouragement or hate encouragement being given to them on the crag. They want to keep in the zone and totally focus. But for me, I've always found it really key moments on a route where you just think, oh, I might fall off, I can't quite do this. A quick kick.
Me
it's
too.
A very, very good thing.
Me too, I love it. You feel people are rooting for you. They want you to succeed, and that's a wonderful feeling.
And you can see the rain absolutely blowing past it. It is amazing. I mean, down here in the commentary position, it's raining a little bit, but it seems to be clearing a little bit from the west, hopefully. And that's very, very, very important for the very last pitch of the climb. It takes a little bit of seepage, and it will need a good 20-30 minutes of no rain at all if they're going to climb it without the worry of a wet slip.
Okay.
So for people who aren't familiar with this, the second man follows up, and he then has to remove all these pieces of gear and bring them up with him, and all the time hang on and not fall off.
How are you feeling now, man? You alright?
Yeah, I'm good, mate.
Cool.
Thanks.
It's lovely to see him really enjoying it.
Oh, that's
well, I'm joined now again.
You're sounding pretty close. Where are you now? You just below the ledge?
Yeah.
Excellent. I can't see you yet.
I'm joined now again by Garth.
Hey, good effort, man.
Thanks, man.
He was on the
That was
recce
awesome.
2 days ago.
I so didn't want you to fall off, you know what I mean?
I was so nervous for them there.
I was kind of okay. I was just
I really was.
still tired from the first
it was
pitch.
brilliant
It was
to
all
see them
just
pull.
like
Well, Dave to pull through that crux sequence.
This is where Dave actually stopped to rest for about 5 minutes, and the whole idea of actually resting here just seems complete anathema to me.
It's actually not too bad. Once you get your feet out and your weight distributed, you can take quite a lot off your hands. But he really wanted to make sure they had enough gas in the tank for that final traverse. That it's quite fingery across to the Beeley.
And so delicate and precise.
Yes, in complete contrast to what's gone before. Obviously very physical, very powerful climbing out through the roof, and then this delicate fingery sequence with very small footholds. And the sanctuary of the Beeley beckoning. And of course at that point, just before you embark on it, the nerves really would be kicking in, because you know that success on that crux pitch is within reach. And you really wouldn't want to fluff it at that point.
One more bit of gear.
Like the true professional he is, he certainly dispatched it with
I'll get up the ledge.
style.
Got it.
totally amazing watching the rain just miles out there.
So
It looks like it's
steep,
about
isn't it?
40 metres away or something.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dave. There's actually a fair bit of loose rock on this next section.
Yes,
There's,
what was it like, this section? You've been up there. I mean, they look as though they're not entirely glued in place, some
well,
of those
they're
blocks.
not. I mean, I pulled on one of these blocks and it shifted probably about the size of a TV, but didn't come out of
Really
place. It was sort
crumbly,
of
this
keyed
rock,
in.
isn't it?
Yeah, I know, it's a really soft band there.
But gave me a bit of a
the
fright.
ledge, brilliant, well done. You can see you now. Good man. Well done. It's a good perch, that, isn't it?
Ah.
I was so glad to get there.
That's the
That's
rest
the
of it.
place, yeah, that's the
mate,
resting
you
place.
must be so tired.
I was just so tired, you know, my arms were just like solid, just totally pumped.
Yeah.
It's fantastic
really,
on climbs like this where you get these
Thing is,
utterly
those bottom
outrageous
moves,
positions where you can just
they
take a
take
few
so
moments and
much
enjoy
out
the
of you.
position
Yeah,
that you're
yeah.
in.
And it's still really
You know,
steep. and
relish the
Yeah.
exposure
But,
dropping
you know,
away
like on
beneath
the
your
first
feet.
pitch where I was just seconding, I didn't feel like I really had to press super hard with my foot,
Yeah.
but I was so nervous that if I was in the middle of a move and I pressed really hard with my foot, that it would have a shoot of pain and it would make me fall. So I just was holding on far too hard. It was like, wasn't the most efficient, but it's just like, well, it worked, so it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
Well,
Good
that's
skills. Right then.
it's good to hear Dave
Better
describing
get over to you without falling off, huh?
how his
I
injury is
guess, yeah,
affecting
but
his
it's
climbing.
swing. I know the edge.
And given
below me is
the
a bit
very, very
sharp.
powerful
Yeah.
nature of those crux moves, you would sort of wonder,
It's
Steve,
okay though. I
whether
mean, it's
Yeah,
totally
yeah,
fine.
it was actually
Yeah,
a
it's
boon
cool.
to him at that point.
It's interesting what he was
least,
saying
though.
about
Yeah.
holding on too hard, and even at the standard I
Yeah,
climb,
I'll just take in as much
way,
as I can,
way,
but
way below the
just try and not
standard.
pull you sideways.
when you climb well, in a sense, there's a relaxation. You're not hanging on too grimly,
Yeah,
and you're
I'm a bit
husbanding your
fit
strength.
from,
I actually went further.
Yeah, for sure.
to
And,
the right there.
yeah.
relaxing
Yeah,
the
me
right
too.
parts of your body at the right time is a really important skill to have. If you're too tense, you won't move with any fluidity at all, and you'll use a lot more strength than necessary, and therefore tire much earlier.
Big loose
I love this
spike.
little section across
Excellent.
there.
What I love about a really top climber is watching the way he's just constantly readjusting
hard
his
move,
weight,
Dave.
shifting his balance,
Oh yeah, the first move. Yeah.
extracting every ounce of possibility from the rock.
Yeah.
Where I got the hole.
Where the edge was.
I mean,
yeah,
Tim
yeah.
is a
I
beautiful
just got
climber
into
to
the
watch.
undercut and then popped off.
He's almost instinctual the way
It's
that
tight,
he
it's like a third of your
the way he
first
continually
I know.
adjusts and changes his
I
position.
got the next
Small
hold fine. It was just
If you watch
releasing my
things just
foot
like
and
an
nearly swung
individual
off.
foot and the different sort of positions that it will move through, I mean, he's not thinking about that. He's
Bit of a
adapting
reach.
to the positions.
But look at that, just 2 fingers, just crimped over that little edge.
Yeah, and he
Yeah,
knows he doesn't
good
want to
one.
fall here because it'll be a swing directly
Big
onto
swing
the wheelie. Yeah.
potential.
And it's just a wee finger lock on the side there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah, that's the one.
Tim talking me through these
I
moves in
just
exactly
crossed
the
under to
same
a
way.
really tight little edge.
It's great to hear the happiness in Dave's voice, knowing that he's succeeded on the crux.
Absolutely. And he knows the next lead is Tim's.
It's over to Tim now. You can relax for a bit.
Fantastic.
Okay, got
And
you.
the next pitch is no pushover.
Stuff.
Well done.
Ah, that
Absolutely
wonderful
brilliant.
feeling
Well
of
done,
arriving.
mate, that was awesome.
Well, I think they call it the white ledge.
I don't think
You
I've
could almost
ever
lie
been
down and go
as
to sleep there.
Well, I'm
nervous
pretty
or-
sure people
Not
will
because
have
of the
done.
danger,
I mean,
but
I believe on
so-
some of the aid ascents,
So wanted to
So
do it.
couple of-
wanted
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
it.
a couple of
I know,
bivouacs were
it's
taken,
happened. same.
If you,
and this would be one of
I
the
fell
most
off
obvious
the edge.
places
You
to
would
spend the
lose so much
night.
energy.
I know. I mean, I would
You know
have
what I
needed
mean?
an hour at least. Yeah.
Did you feel the pressure a lot
No, I just wanted
with
to
that,
do
or
it.
you were just
yeah.
on a mission?
But see, when I was up here,
yeah,
just to, because this is sore,
yeah,
and the thought of like falling off and swinging in and just hitting the rock,
yeah.
I was just like, I am not going to fall
Yeah.
off. So I was like, oh, my strength.
It's all right that bit, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's just like when you're not really sure what it's going to be like. You're
Yeah.
a bit tense, but yeah, it's fine in the end.
Cool, man.
Right, come on the belay ledge, and we shall get some
Fancy spot of lunch?
bite to eat. Yeah, that'd be nice. I'll get you a bit. There we go.
Good to hear, guys. Now, listen, I know Tim's going to be really looking forward to this next pitch.
You can grab this thing over my head if you want. Cheers. Cheers.
Well done.
I think anyone who climbs can identify with that
Oh wow!
surge of relief
Good effort.
when you reach the belay.
Yeah, I'll go direct into.
Oh, I tell you what,
Absolutely,
my
especially
foot's
after a
tightened up
pitch
a
with
lot,
such
eh?
immense
Just
difficulty.
take your rock shoe off, maybe, Dave.
Yeah, well,
I
it's like I can see it's
can't quite believe you did it first
kinda
time, actually. I
swollen
really
around the
thought
edge there.
Yeah.
You see that?
perhaps the sort of
Something
precarious
come up
nature
with
of it, combined with the
Well,
extreme
It'll
difficulty, it
loosen
might
off
take a
again
couple of
when I
shots
start
just to get the
climbing again.
timing
At least I'm
right.
seconding this pitch. So actually seconding this pitch will loosen it up, ready for my next lead, so it'll be fine.
We're getting there, man.
We are, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We're on the ledge, it feels so good to be
I
here.
love
isn't
this
it?
ledge. It's awesome. I'm gonna
Uh,
go direct into those two cams.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, a bit of slack.
Cheers.
Guys are obviously going to take a bit of time to
Bye.
relax and chill out.
Tim there just clipping
I'm gonna
himself
shut
in,
myself out as well, I think.
something you could
Cool,
easily
I'm in on
overlook
that.
Okay,
Clip into
I'll
this
take-
quick.
in the euphoria of arriving at the belay. You have actually got to
Right,
clip
that's your
yourself
theory.
in.